Hi, how are the both of you?
We're good.
However well we can all be doing
Yeah.
in this current moment. But I will say the creep tapes have given me a nice reprieve, so thank you for that.
Oh, that makes me feel good.
Um, Thank you so much, Mark, for being making me scared of you as a person. How does it feel to continue to terrify people with this character? Because holy shit, like it's what your range, especially in the creep tapes, is quite incredible to say the
Well, that's
least.
very sweet. Thank you so much. I find it so fascinating the way people react to my character because they are at once scared of me, but they tell me that while they're within inches of my face and they feel very close to me at the same time. And I don't know if that's 'cause the body of work suggests that or because my character actually, in my opinion, comes from a place of deep love and need to connect with people, and they connect with that
Yeah.
too. So I find it to be just confusing in the best way.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well, the two of you started something so special with Creep, and now we're in the Creep tapes. I mean, I'm assuming y'all never thought you'd get to this point, but what was it like taking Creep and putting it into episodic format? I mean, that must have been really an interesting exercise for y'all, not just with the format, but also with the story building you're doing here and the lore building we're getting. And I just wanted to hear, I think starting Patrick with you, but then also Mark, like that process of turning this into episodics instead of a feature length film and that process for y'all.
It was extremely freeing, and it was kind of the biggest
Oh,
creative
cool.
epiphany we've had with with this in a long time. We've been sort of racking our brains coming up with a third movie for a couple of years now, and we had maybe 8 or 10 ideas, listed, but like none of them felt like the one.
Yeah.
But one day, it was actually Mark who called me and had the idea to of the tapes, and basically that was it. That was as far as he got. He's like, "We've got these videotapes that we see at the end of the first movie, and
Patrick
what
was like, "Great, what do you have?" I was like, "Nothing. That's it.
they're there.
That's just the idea."
They have people's names listed on them.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
else can I say? Yeah. But and that is such a like conceit in serial killer movies and in horror movies, right? These like videotapes or DVDs that, like
Yeah.
have victims' names on them. And so just like the idea of taking that to its inevitable extreme and saying, like, what if we watched each of these? Like, what if we were able to see this? And so not only was that exciting because it just opened up the door for limitless possibilities, because we'd already had this character who is essentially, while he believes everything is true, is lying constantly, and we really aren't able to sort of pin him down as to what he is and what he's doing and why he's doing any of this. We're just sort of along for the ride. We have the chance to explore all kinds of different avenues for that, but also different like genres at the same time. And just a chance for us to be able to play in a way that we maybe didn't have with all the pressure of making a third movie to like round out a trilogy on top of us.
Yeah, and functionally it was great too because as Patrick's career has taken off and I get busier with other things, we can just pick off an episode whenever we have 3, 4, or 5 days. We go rent a
Yeah.
cabin and we just say like, let's go, let's get the band back together. So we shot this over the course of a year, and it means we're a little more fresh every time we come back to it. And I'm feeling like oh man, I'm on this big set and I want some freedom back. I want to run around with my buddies in the woods with a little camera and feel 12 years old again. And so we're all very excited to be there when we get there. And it's extremely taxing because we're all doing multiple jobs. We're writing the
Oh,
script as
yeah.
we go. We have to build them as oneers because there's no cut points. So you're pacing the dialogue up. It's really exhausting,
Oh.
but so much fun. So much
I
fun.
mean, I feel like that's like the indie horror vibe too. It's just like it's the hardest thing you've ever done, but it's also the funnest thing you've ever
It
done.
is. It
Yeah.
I made a movie recently and I was like, why is this awful and also all I ever want to do for the rest of my life? So I get
That's
that because it is
Yes,
so fun.
100%. Just like
But
having
I
children. Yes.
it.
oh really? Oof. Haven't gotten that far quite yet. But but I think what I love about this, and if tell me if I'm wrong, that there you can watch these episodes in any order, correct?
Yep.
There's not really an order where even though they're gonna come out, obviously, like there's no order that
Yeah.
these are meant to be
You can
watched
you
in,
can mix and
correct?
match. The only thing I will say is I try to recommend people watch the last episode last because there's a larger mythology to this character that we hope to slowly be laying Easter eggs about over subsequent seasons. And certainly you get a larger clue as to how he became who he became in that last episode.
Yes, and I won't spoil too much, but you have Krisha Fairchild in that, and she
Yeah.
is absolutely stunning. I love her, and it's just great. But we won't talk too much about that. I have two big questions about this because I'm a big found footage person. I love found footage. I've got a Blair Witch Project tattoo. I'm a psychopath. Why have the introduction, like the creep tapes intro at the beginning, rather than just having them be standalone episodes without the TV kind of episode intro? Was that just a technical thing, or was that like a purposeful choice from y'all to include the opening credits rather than just cutting right into the story?
Well, we use it sometimes as an opener. We use it sometimes to bifurcate the story and have a
Yeah.
cold open, which can be really, really fun. We have a little
Yeah.
less time for exposition with these characters, so it actually can be really helpful functionally. And
Yeah.
I don't know, there's something that happened to me over the course of the pandemic with my children where we got into comfort viewing and we would watch Seinfeld and we would watch Friends and we would watch all these shows over and over again, and the comfort of seeing that credit sequence over and
Yeah.
over again was this touchstone, and it felt like home to me. And I was like,
Cool.
I really, really want to be able to offer that to people where as wildly different as each episode is, you still returning to the same place that says, I've got you, and I'm going to give you the uncomfortable giggle scares that you've come here for. And so I don't
Cool.
know, that was just something I really liked.
Oh, absolutely. No, and I like that about how you use it to kind of cut the cold open. And I was just
Yeah.
interested,
Yeah.
this I feel like with found footage you can do two, like one of two things. So it's always just cool to hear the process
Yeah.
behind those decisions. I know it sounds so small, but it's interesting,
It's not small at all, and it's like something I think about a lot. Like my OCD brain definitely like had to come to terms with the fact that we'd already kind of done that in Creep 2. Like we'd had this
Yeah.
cold open in Creep 2, and that was I think also what sort of helped us open up the world a little bit beyond the movies was shooting that cold open for Creep 2, wouldn't you say, Mark, with
Yep.
Cara and Tony? Because it was like, oh, this is happening all the time.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
isn't a one-time thing with this guy. This is a consistent, a consistent thing. And so I think being able to do that was really freeing for us. And then yeah, having it in the films was it's funny because like Mark just articulated it, but something that I'd felt but I'd never expressed. But it's true, there is some comfort in that. I mean, at least with Seinfeld, that bass.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like yeah, just like serotonin rush in my head.
Yeah.
Well, and like I kind of giggled to myself just thinking about Mark, your character making the cold open and editing it himself. I mean, again, just in my head, I was like, oh, he
It's the
totally would
greatest.
do that too.
Once we
He would
realized,
totally,
yeah, he
yeah,
would.
like,
Joseph is a film. Every one of these is a film that he has made. He deems himself this.
Yeah.
And he also deems himself quite the thespian, as we've discovered. So,
he loves a
it,
costume. He loves a wig. We all know he loves a mask, but wow, you got to really play with
why
costumes in
can't
the
Halloween
series.
be every day? I
Yeah.
guess there is a way.
And I also was curious, after Creep 2, you don't, I mean, with the exception of the last episode, you don't have any female characters like you did in 2. So was that also a conscious decision in terms of only having male victims in this one versus the kind of really amazing dynamics you played with in the second one? I was just curious about
Yeah,
that.
we don't want to say too much about this, but we will say
Okay.
that there's
Sorry.
sort of no, there's sort of a plan in place about that and subsequent seasons and what you get to see first versus what you get to see a little bit later. So,
Okay, cool. Because Creep 2 is, I think, one of my all-time favorite movies because of how
mm,
you play with like who holds the camera and power
yes,
dynamics between man and
Yes.
woman.
you'll be
And you get
seeing
it
more of that in subsequent seasons for sure. Yeah.
because we do see that a little bit here. And again, I won't spoil, but it's
Yeah.
just, I love the way y'all play with that. It's very smart. So I'm excited to hear
Oh,
that
thank
there's
you. Yeah, and a lot of that came
more.
from just the fact that, when we made Creed 2, we wanted to, all of our collaborators on all of these are, for the most part, filmmakers themselves as
Yeah.
well, sort of like know how the sausage is made. And so bringing in Desiree Akhavan with the second movie was a real epiphany for us because not only can she act and like hold her own completely with Mark in a scene, she's also an amazing writer and director in her own right. So like to have someone else that was thinking about story and character on that sort of deeper level was so it just makes it so much easier. It's not we're all in this together basically
Oh
as
yeah.
equal.
Yeah, because those actors have to act, hold the camera, improvise, pace things correctly because there are no cut points, all that stuff. It's like
That's
it's a
A big
lot.
ask. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's a nightmare, but like a cool nightmare, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's creatively really challenging, but awesome. And I mean, again, like did y'all have any lore in your heads when this first came out, or is this the lore that you're building kind of coming as you develop the character, Mark and Patrick? Like, is the lore building as you go along? Was there already kind of ideas about this in the beginning, or a little bit of
It's
both?
usually a combination of both. It's usually a
Okay.
combination of some weird instinct, and we don't know where it comes from. Like I'd call Patrick and
Oh
be
yeah.
like, the movie should be called Peach Fuzz. I don't know why. Let's figure it out. The movie wasn't called Peach Fuzz, but we figured something out. Oh, there should be a mask and there's a character. So we throw ideas and then we trust that instinct, like that little impulse. And then we start to organically sort of build the lore and the mythology out of it. And what we find is that these quote unquote happy accidents happen, which I don't believe they're accidents. I believe if you trust their instinct, everything is there for you and you sort of self-fulfill the prophecy of making them lore.
Oh yeah, that's
Like the
awesome.
tapes. We happen to have a shot of a closet at the end of the first one that had all the tapes. And that was a lucky, happy accident. But at the same time, I believe it's kind of baked in if you trust your instincts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, we get to see more of your character and his weird, different plots. It's not just Craigslist, y'all. There are other ways. And it's just been really
Other ways, yes.
other ways. And wow. Well, thank you both so much. I really am trying to encourage people to buy Peachfuzz masks to wear to the holidays this year to just cause chaos because that's where we're at as a society.
Where we need to
So
be.
I think that's what we should be doing.